Hey cuties, I'm Miles Sexton, a content creator, activist, and loud and proud disruptor of the norm. On our private bits, we talk about the things and people that don't get talked about enough, or at all. Trust me, as a sober, HIV positive, non binary person, I would know. Join me as I chat with people in my life and from around the world whose stories deserve to be heard. Maybe you'll learn something new, and you will definitely LOL. Our Private Bits is also part of the ACAST Creator Network. All right, cuties. Today on Our Private Bits, we have Nick Merzetti joining us. Nick is a renowned fashion photographer with work being featured in Vogue Italia, Vogue China, Fashion Canada, Shun, and Design Exchange. And he also happens to be one of my best friends. Want to say hi, Nick?
Hi, I love you.
I love you.
I'm so glad to be here.
Me too. I'm so happy that we get to record this podcast just because we've been friends for such a long time. And I don't know. I feel like we've both been on this sort of journey over the
Yeah.
last, I think almost 10 years together. And it's been really cool. But how do we meet for the first time? Do you remember?
I think it was at Tom.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I was doing backstage photography and I saw this this thing floating by. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't think I'd ever seen that much grace before in a person. And then I don't remember who reached out first.
I definitely slid into your DMs.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we just started shooting together.
It's so true.
Yeah. And I had no idea what I was doing, and you were so patient.
No,
And I
that's not
learned
true.
so much about what it's like to shoot a real model.
Oh my God.
I'd never shot other than people backstage. I never actually had a photo shoot with a real model, and it blew my mind.
Oh my gosh. Well, our first shoot that we did together after I reached out to you, we went to Prince Edward County, which we went to these sand dunes. So it kind of looks like you're in Dubai or something. And I
Yeah.
remember but it's you kind of have to hike out to these sand dunes. So I had all of this wardrobe that I was
Yeah.
carrying, and it was so high. It was
That
not a
was
cloud in the sky that day. And then we were trying to shoot, and it was super windy too, and the lights kept falling over.
And I sprayed SPF in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. Always something happens whenever we hang out. Things explode, But oh my gosh. But I don't know. It was one of those days where I think for me anyway, especially that first shoot, I felt it was so cool just for us to be able to connect. And I've never, I don't know. It was I felt like it was just me and you, and we were creating, and I don't know. I just remember us driving back after that shoot, and I just feeling so creatively full and excited,
Yeah.
Because I think something that's interesting, I don't know, and I think I've shared this to you before, is I find it hard, I think sometimes with photographers where I think photographers want to capture me in a certain way. And a lot of them I have a tendency either to make me want to look really masculine, or they want me to look perfect or very posed. And I think something I enjoy with you is that we get to we play with movement. I think you really capture a balance of my femininity and masculinity. And I don't know, I really haven't met someone else that captures me in that way, I guess. I don't know, something's really special.
Well, yeah, not to but I find your face fascinating, and I think I always did, and it's so weird. From low, you can just be the most masculine guy ever, and then from other angles, I find you achingly beautiful, and
That's so
and I think
interesting.
because it inspires me so much, I think it's led to someone I always feel when we do our shoots, we always it's twice a year we're shooting, and I always feel those moments are some of the best photography moments, and I think it's because we're so playful,
Mhm.
and I always find something new that I haven't done before, and I think my growth is tied closely to our photo shoots together.
Yeah, I feel the same way, even though it's I've been modeling for 10 plus years, but it's true, not just on a physical level, but a very emotional level. I when we were doing our shoot for Terry Mugler, H&M collab, and it's I have such a internalized shame and fear of dancing. But I remember when we were shooting this video, and it was the first time that I felt safe enough to try to Vogue and dance in a video. And it was such a liberating moment for myself, I think, internally, to be able to go through that. And yeah, I just remember watching back the video, and it was a part of Baby Miles reclaiming their
Oh
power,
wow!
sort of in this photo shoot. And Yeah, like, but there's been, like, like, I feel like every not every shoot, but almost every shoot, there's, like, a moment or just something that, like, happens on this shoot that we, like, create something and it's, like, creates healing inside of me. I
Mhm.
don't know. I really just I think you meet people. I think you meet people in your life that are there for a purpose, and I think meeting you, I think a big part was, like, for you to help me, I think, like, heal from a lot of my own trauma and shame.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I really believe that.
That is so touching. And I feel the same way because I was very intimidated by you at first because you do strike like you can strike this like very alpha male tone sometimes.
And especially
And
when
that
we met, like, did not smile, like, it was very, like,
yeah.
serious, like,
Oh yeah.
Blue Lander or Zoolander face, you know? Like
Yeah. For me, like I think you also maybe healed some of like, you know, daddy issues and stuff. Like, yeah, so weird.
I
I
know.
love it.
It's interesting, when people just, like, I think look at fashion and are like, "Oh, it's" it's so, like, superficial, and I'm like, "No, no, no." Like, I think fashion and creating and art, I think it's so much more than what you just see. It's not just a pretty picture. You don't know, like, the journey it was to,
Yeah.
like, get to that sort of moment, and I think with all of your work, there's so much more depth to it. Like, there's such a story, I think, to all of your images outside of just the ones that we create together. I think everything that you shoot, I think it's so powerful where, like, someone
Thank
can
you.
really, like, sit there and, like, get and create, like, maybe their own story when they look at your images. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting, but I don't know. I think you're amazing.
I love you.
I love you too.
Uh, yeah, it's funny that you said that. Like, you have this way of like, I don't know. It's like this, like, don't fuck with your like default expression is like this, like, don't fuck with me
It's
expression.
true.
It's like, it can be, you can be. I remember, I think it was at the CAFA Awards, like
Yeah.
watching a row of people like trying to muster up the courage to approach you.
Really?
Yeah, it was really funny.
That's so funny.
You were like, I think
I
7 feet
was a
tall.
giant that
Yeah,
night.
yeah. So funny.
That's so interesting. Like, and it's like it's something like I've had to do is like a rebrand of like I try with my social media now, like in the last couple of years of like being more smiley and like being more like bright, and not trying to be so intimidating because I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, Miles is such a bitch." Like, and I was like, "Oh, like that's." I think it was like at that time in my life, it was like a defense mechanism, of me
Yeah.
trying to like protect myself and like didn't want people to like say comments to my face or whatever, like I was trying to like scare people off. But, since then I think it's been like I want to like welcome people in, to who I am and not have people be intimidating, even though I mean when you're like 7 feet tall, it's hard to not be intimidated.
I love that. I actually feel the same way as I'm getting a little older. Like,
Mhm.
I think I would always come off as like a little bit of an asshole, but it was all shyness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It is.
And now that I'm like become more confident, I just want to love everyone,
Yes.
and try to be like, you know, there for everybody and like never want anyone to feel like away.
Mhm. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's interesting. Our journeys are, I think, completely different, but also very similar in a way.
Yeah, I think there's a common thread
Yeah.
that's in there. So I'm curious a little bit though, because I think, knowing a bit of like your backstory, how do you think that like your upbringing has sort of like, I guess, just affected your relationships and the way that you create and, how you go about your journey in this world?
Well, I definitely, like, didn't have the best relationship with my dad.
Mhm.
It wasn't necessarily his fault, but he was, like, this 6'5", super alpha male. All he wanted was a son that played, like, hockey,
Yeah.
and, like, I am just not that.
Oof.
I'm very feminine. I'm just that's so dealing, I think, with, like, I'm straight, but also, like, dealing with guys could be very difficult, and then when I
Mhm.
found photography, uh, and being able to shoot male models, I don't know. I found like, and I think that helped me shoot you in a way because because you have some of that alpha male energy, and I could shoot you and like, I don't want to say put you on a pedestal, but like I could take the feeling of like that I would have like from my father and maybe the
Mhm.
shame of not being able to like live up or whenever I shoot powerful people.
Mhm.
And that actually ends up translating very well because I like am naturally like pushing them up in the photo, uh, like in giving them as much power as possible without thinking about it. And I think that's one of the reasons, especially when I shoot men, that it works so well.
That's so interesting that you say
Yeah,
that.
I'm just thinking about this right now.
Yeah.
Hope my dad doesn't listen to this one. Oh god.
But do you think that, like, is there a way that there's, like, a reclaiming, I guess, like, of your power, like, through this?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a shoot that comes to mind?
I would say it's just the overall. I mean, I have been so shy. We moved
Mhm.
every 6 months, and
Yeah.
I was always like the kid reading like fantasy novels,
Love
and
it.
I would never go out. And obviously, that makes you very socially awkward.
Yes.
So when I know by the time I was in my 20s, like I was a little bit of a wreck. And then when I found like my passion, photography, just like having you can't shoot someone if you don't build rapport. Like you
Mhm.
can't like if you don't have something happening, like a connection between your subject, it's you're missing out. And to try to cultivate that, and by learning how to cultivate that, I've really conquered those demons like big time.
I love it.
Yeah, now I'm able to like people like, I'm shooting like I shot Billy Porter recently.
Yeah, bananas.
And I could feel those old feelings of like cuz he's like such a powerful
Mhm.
like character in the room. And I realized at that moment like, wow, I was a little bit intimidated, but it didn't matter anymore. And I just like we fell into each other. And like
Mhm.
that is I think like what photography is all about. Like like well, portrait photography. Just like being able to like cultivate these connections with people, even if you have nothing in common. And I don't know. I feel at this point in my career, I for the first time I have complete power over myself. And just like you were saying earlier about a little piece of Miles was healed, I feel like I've like finally like I love like little Nick that
Mhm.
was like maybe bullied or like was super shy. Like I love that guy, and it's not like I'm not that way anymore. It's that now I just love him.
Mhm.
And suddenly then you have all the power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, like, to your point earlier too, it's like, I think you're such a, like, like, I think it's something that's always, like, drawn me to you, and I think something that I appreciate about you is that, you very much are this, like, beautiful balance of, like, masculinity and femininity, and,
Oh,
like, I think it's like I see a lot of myself in you in this sort of, like, in that situation too, and I think that this, like, it's part of the reason why I feel so safe with you, like, because when I first, like, first look at you, you're this, like, handsome, very masculine looking guy, it's muscular, and it's like, to me, I would feel really intimidated in the beginning of something like that. But then once I, like, started talking to you and getting to know you and, like, understanding you, like, there's, like, these beautiful both sides of you. And I think
that's so
that
sweet.
that must be, I don't know, like, was it hard for you to, like, even though you said you were, like, a little bit feminine and straight, like, how do you navigate that? Like, that must be
I don't
so
know.
hard,
I had so many girlfriends think I was gay. It was so
Yeah.
funny. And I think part of it is just like I've always been, and I don't know why, because my dad was I mean, he's from a time,
Mhm.
like a different
Totally.
time, a little homophobic. I don't know why I was this way, but I was always just like if I was gay tomorrow, like I wouldn't like great get like
Mhm.
I, I don't know. I spent a few years with my uncle who's gay in England,
Mhm.
and I was like deep in the gay community. I was bouncing at a gay bar, and yeah, and then I worked at Cruise and Tangos as
Mhm.
a bartender. Yeah, I don't know. I've always felt completely comfortable, and I think that makes a lot of especially girls judge me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always felt judgment from, like, girlfriends especially, like, not understanding why like, how I could be, like, so okay. I remember there was a moment where you and I were watching a movie,
Mhm.
and we were just, like, hugging each other,
Yeah.
and it was totally platonic,
Totally.
and my girlfriend at the time, just could not wrap her head around it, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, but
I mean,
um
I think it's hard because, like, we grow up in a society where we're like, I think, like, femininity and, like, any sort of, like, I guess, like, queerness, like, when we were growing up, like, I think it was looked down upon, and that, like, femininity was weakness, but I think it's like we're all made up of both parts. So it's
Mhm.
like, I think it's unfortunate. I'm glad that we're able, as a society, we're coming out of it, and I'm seeing more, like, straight guys that are, like, embracing their femininity, they're painting their nails, they're wearing a bit more jewelry, and it's like, it makes me so excited because I think it's just, like, I don't know, it's just such a colonial, like, construct of, like, how men are supposed to be men and, like, women are supposed to be women, but it's like, why can't we all just live, and flow between who we are, and, like, and be able to express ourselves and not be like, oh, because I'm painting my nails, I'm gay. Like, I just think that that's such bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. That's what I think.
uh,
But
yeah, a a little bit of me accepting that part of me,
Mhm.
especially like sometimes when I do dress a little bit more feminine, like is because of you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you, yeah, bringing that to me. Just seeing the way you found power through fashion and like expressing yourself has been wild.
I'm loving seeing you come outside of your box.
Yeah, yeah.
But do you think that, like, for you, like, how does your, I guess, like, your sexuality, like, how does that inspire the work that you do, like, in your photography?
Definitely, there's a little bit of shame there.
Mhm.
I think it's like maybe like super Catholic upbringing. I don't know where it came from, maybe. But w all I really wanna talk about when I like, if it was up to me, if I
Mhm.
was, like, rich and could just shoot whatever, would
Yeah.
just be, like, playing with, like not in, like, an overt sexual way at all, like, completely, like, it's fashion, so, like,
Yes.
with clothes, but just,
Totally.
like, playing with, like, shame and sexual, like, power dynamics and, like,
Mhm.
what that means to me, and I've done a few, like, BDSM/fashion shoots that really were, like, the
Amazing.
biggest embodiment of who I was.
Yeah.
There's not much of a market for that,
No.
unfortunately, but if, yeah, I definitely it does, I think, maybe inform my photography a bit when I shoot women. I shoot
Mhm.
up on them a lot,
Yeah.
as whereas, like, most photographers are shooting down on them, make them more beautiful, but I'm really always, by my nature, trying to, like, uh, give power to them, and I think that has something to do with my sexuality for sure.
That's so interesting. So how it like is it from going from a down angle that's like it's just like making them seem like larger? Is that or like bigger or like
Shooting
stronger?
from a below, just like, if you go to any, like, photography class, or we'd,
Okay.
like, shoot men from below, women from down, because, I mean, it makes them more conventionally flattering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And, but I've always just, like, wanted to shoot women in a way that, like, projected their power,
Mhm.
like, and that a lot of female models don't want that, for sure,
Yeah,
but those aren't the type of models I'm trying to shoot.
totally.
Yeah.
But where do you think that stems from? Like, why do you want to give power back to
I
women?
don't know. Domineering mother,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Okay.
I love you, mom. Uh, probably that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, like, wildly domineering mother, and father that wasn't really there. So, probably changed the way I thought about women.
I
Yeah.
get that. I mean, I'm very much like, I had a very similar relationship. My dad looks like an 80s porn model and like big mustache and like an eight pack. And, like he was like the epitome of hypermasculinity. And then my
Wow.
mom was also like, the most dominant personality in the house that everything was about her. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I definitely relate to what you're saying. And I think it's for me anyway. It's even like, why I think I love like movies or books or like video games where I can be like a strong, powerful woman because like for me that was my like version of like of strength. I think like seeing growing up just
Yeah.
because my dad, even though my dad was there and but he just didn't have like an active role in my life really like he was so quiet and didn't really talk and even though I was like very intimidated by him because he was so masculine.
Yeah.
So
Isn't it weird being intimidated by your parent?
totally,
Such a, like, a I'm so sad about that, and I didn't realize that about you either. Like, it just shouldn't be that way, you know what I
totally.
mean?
Well, I think for me it was like I was so afraid to show my femininity out of fear of like him, like, kind of putting me down. Cause like I remember from young age, like my dad trying to make me play soccer and hockey. And like I literally just wanted to figure skate and like go in gymnastics and do dance. And like, that never really happened. Like they let me do gymnastics. I think that was like the most like masculine choice that they could like land me in. But
Oh, you just brought back a similar and hilarious memory. It was
okay.
Christmas, my grandmother's house, and the whole family was there, and I ran into the room with, like, 2 balloons in my shirt,
Oh, yes.
and
Been there.
everyone loved it. My dad did not. It sent me to my room Christmas night.
No, he sent you to your room?
Yeah, yeah.
So what was the dialogue that you told yourself when that happened?
I think that's part of maybe the shame part of it too.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really let it get to me. I mean, it was always something. So, like, it was just another thing.
No.
Like I'm not playing a victim. Like I love my dad. It's great. I mean, they've been good to me. But
No, but it's like but even if they weren't, like, super, like, negative in those sort of moments, like, it was, like, when the Spice Girls came out, and I was only allowed to be Sporty Spice because it was, like, the masculine one of the group, you know? But, like, Sporty Spice always wore, like, a bra, and I remember, like, taking 2 clothespins and, like, pinning up my shirt to, like, make the Sporty Spice bra, and my mom came down and got so mad at me about it, but I'll never forget it. You know, and I think it's like it's part of the reason why I never also didn't wanna, like, show my body or, like, show my midriff because it was, like, I felt, like, really good in that moment, but the way I've sort of, like, internalized it in my life, it's taken me a long time to kinda, like, express myself, I guess, in that and showing my body in that way.
that's just wild to me that they would only let you be Sporty Spice.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
totally. But I
incredible.
like Posh was my favorite, you know? Like, I was like, I wanna be the
Just want to
sexy
be Posh
one, you
Spice.
know? Like, so bad, but, like, no, they were, like, not having it. So
That's so funny. And then, yeah, how is that relationship with them now?
I mean,
Like,
I guess I just didn't give them a choice,
yeah.
you know, like, I remember when I survived my suicide attempt and I like, after, like, the end of that summer, I went shopping and, like, it was the first time my parents were seeing me. They go to this cottage in the summertime, and I went shopping and I bought my first pair of, like, girls' jeans and, like, a tight tank top, and, like, I put makeup on and I was, like, presenting very emo. I remember showing up at the cottage and was just like my parents were both like, whoa. Like, you know, my dad was like, "You need to go change," like, and was, like, not having it, and I was like, "You can't tell me, like, what to do,"
Nice.
and it was, like, very much like I came out of it into this, like, sort of, like, empowerment kind of moment of, like, "Fuck this," like, "This is who I am." I almost, like, wasn't here, you know,
Yeah.
because I had so much shame about my femininity that I was like I went to, like, the other extreme, and I don't know, I found confidence in it, I guess,
Yeah.
so, yeah. Now it's like I mean, they're good, like, they call me, you know, they always say, like, "Mr. Hollywood" is, like, how they call me now, which is, like, so ridiculous, but, like, you know, but I'm like, "Whatever," like, I just own it. It's like, it is what it is. I've just given them no choice, you know, but
So
I'll never
good.
forget, like, this one time I did this shoot where I was in this, like, dress and I, like, looked so feminine, like, it was in my very androgynous era, and, I sent the campaign to my mom because it was, like, this ad that was up, and she was like, "Who's that beautiful woman in it?" Like, because it was, like, a double image of me, like, one of me more masculine and then one
Oh,
of me,
wow.
like, super hyper feminine, and I was like, "Mom, that's me," and she goes, "Wow, you have a better body than I do." And I was like, "Well, I didn't have 3 children, so," you know,
Wow.
but yeah, it's interesting, but they're coming around.
Excellent. Ah.
So, something else that I do want to talk about, which I think is so fascinating, and I think people will be shocked to know, is that you're colorblind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is that like? Like, not only just in your everyday life, but also as a photographer where,
Yeah.
like, color is so important, I think, to the work that you do.
Yeah, so recently had some issues with it. I mean, there's always, like, a way, like, in post to, like, check to see what the color actually is, like, because I
Mhm.
understand color theory.
Yeah.
The issues are, though, like, when I'm on set, and I've
Okay.
had some issues, like, where the client's like, yeah, like, "Shoot it over there, like, by that brown thing." And I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." I just recently, like, I had to change all the backgrounds, to a certain shade of green,
Okay.
uh, and I had to give it to them and be like, "I've done everything you've asked for, just, like" 'cause now I'm open about being colorblind. I was like, "You're gonna need to handle the green issue."
Mhm.
And it was okay. I think at this point, I've, like, proven to myself and other people that, like, it doesn't really matter. I do think, though, that it has maybe made me not necessarily a better photographer, but a
Mhm.
different photographer.
Totally.
Uh, like, just in the way like, hypersaturation really attracts me,
Yes.
or, like, powerful contrast, like, luminance contrast in black and whites. It makes me maybe miss some, like, beautiful, like, arrangements of color that I would might maybe walk right by.
Mhm.
But it points me to other things that maybe other people wouldn't care to look at, or it wouldn't, like, jump out at them. Uh, it's definitely, I think, helped, uh, maybe me stand out, not that I'm necessarily better, but that there's something different about my work, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, I'm pretty fantastically colorblind. It's
It's true though, because I think you have like when I look at your images, like, I think the color grading of the image, if I'm saying that right, like, it's so unique to, I think, like, who you are as a photographer, and I think, like, I haven't seen I don't know, there's just, like, the way that the colors are in the image, I don't see a lot of other people, like, doing that, and it's like, I never really thought about it until you told me that you were colorblind, and I was like, "No, it's actually so true," like, there's such a uniqueness to the colors that are really, like, showing up in the images that you do create, but I'm also curious, like, for people who, for, like, someone like myself, like, obviously I see the world in the colors that it is, like, what do colors look like? Like
I think it's like if you look at like a color wheel
mhm,
where you would get a complete gradient wrapping around the
yes,
wheel, like from one color to the next. I'll look and like in the blues, I'll see the gradient
okay,
and I can pick out all the blue. But then
interesting.
suddenly there's just two big sections
Okay.
that are the same,
Uh, and
which
do
is
they like,
everything
what do
else.
they look like? Like, is it gray or, like, is
It's
it
no, it's weird. It's like if you said, like if you show me a picture of a green apple,
mhm,
but it was like, say it was like shot macro, so I couldn't tell what that thing was. And you're
yes,
like, like, take a look at this brown thing. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's brown. And I know what brown looks like because I can see the saturated versions of everything.
okay.
But then you could be, oh, like, oh, it's actually green. And the instant you say it's green, suddenly my mind maps a green on it, and then I can see green in it.
Oh,
Yeah, and the same
interesting.
with like anything in the red, brown, green, which goes into purples and goes
Yeah.
into like it's weird. Uh, so far I haven't had trouble with traffic lights, but once in a while there'll be these like not so saturated traffic lights, and I'm like, oh no.
You're like, "Is it yellow? Is it red?" Or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Or green, like it's all like in that. Yeah.
Fair, okay. But, like, when you were younger, like, how did you discover that you were, like, colorblind?
I think I always knew. It
Okay.
was pretty obvious from a young age, but it never really mattered because I never even knew I wanted to be an artist till I was like 30.
But there wasn't, like was there a moment where you were, like, someone had said something and you
Oh
realized, like, you were
yeah,
seeing the world differently?
yeah. Someone was laughing about me because I colored the skin of a. We had like we had to paint something in
Okay.
class, and I made my person, and they had some like wacky color for their skin, and everyone was laughing. I didn't get why.
Oh,
And then when they
interesting.
realized that I didn't get the skin issue,
Yeah.
then it became not the good type of laughing. It was
Oh, no.
and then yeah, but then, like, yeah, it's all like, it it's only color blindness. It's like, I think there's so many men with that. But I do think it's been an important part of my photography.
Mhm.
Recently, I was at the Whitney in New York,
Yes.
and there was this wonderful painting, I guess, and saw all these people, like, standing around it, and I was like, I just saw one solid color, and
No
at that
way.
I very rarely ever feel like I'm missing out, but I
Yes.
really felt like I was missing out.
Oh,
Yeah, and I was like,
no.
but whatever, it's all good.
No, I mean, I think it's fascinating,
It is fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
I tried those colorblindness glasses one
Okay.
time.
Do they work?
They do, you have to wear them for a bit, and then suddenly I could see undertones in people's skin, and it
Oh.
never made sense. People would be like, "Oh, that shirt looks really good on you," or "That, like, shirt looks really good on this person," and I'd be like, "I guess so, like, why would green look good on this person?"
Mhm.
And then suddenly I could see like, "Oh, there is green in this person's skin." Why it was wild.
Yeah,
I should
wow.
really buy a pair again.
But, like, can you
Probably.
get them in, like, would it be, like, an actual like, within a prescription glasses, or it's like a
They
I'm envisioning, like, those movie theater glasses that
ye
you get, like, I
I
don't
think they're,
know.
like, better now, but I think they only really work as sunglasses,
Okay.
because the filter applied is so if you're, like, trying to, like, edit inside
Mhm.
or, like, be in a place where you wouldn't want sunglasses, they don't it's not
Okay.
gonna work so well, it'll make it too dark, but
Yes.
yeah, that was wild to me, like, just being able to see, like, "Oh, wow," like, a lot of white people have so much pink in their skin,
Mhm,
like,
totally.
it blew my mind.
Huh. Amazing. That's so interesting. Now, I'm gonna take this conversation in
Uh-oh,
a totally different
I'm
topic,
ready.
inspired by my outfit today. So, for everyone that's listening, I'm in a full head to toe mushroom outfit with this really cool
I know where this is
Canadian
going.
designer called Thief and Bandit. But something that I think that we've spoken to a lot, and you've shared a bit of your personal story is like I guess just like your use of like psychedelics
Mm.
and like how I guess maybe just share a little bit with us how those have sort of like impacted not only I think yourself personally, but your work too.
I mean, I'm hesitant always to recommend, like, powerful psychedelics to
Yes.
people because some people, it can this is like a disclaimer.
Yes,
Some people, like, it can maybe not work out so well
for
for,
sure.
but, I think for the majority of us, like, uh, people are missing out. I I have one specific instance I think that was like sums it all up. I have been going to therapy for like a couple of years, not
Mhm.
making much progress. And then I had dabbled in LSD.
Mhm.
And one day I decided I was going to go to one of those pods, like the float tanks,
Yes.
isolation tanks. And I just gone to therapy like a couple days before, and she's like, "You really need to like picture like little Nick that was bullied, and like just have him on your chest, and like love him." Like I tried it, nothing. Like it seemed like like okay, sure.
Yeah, parts work is hard.
And then I did LSD, and I went into this isolation tank, and I was sitting there, and then I started like it started, and I said, like, "Well, we should try this now." And suddenly l- like little Nick was actually there. Like I could feel his head on my shoulder.
Whoa.
And I had my hand on him and I loved him. And in that moment, I changed the course of my life.
Hmm.
Uh, from then on, uh, I like love myself. And it was wild. It completely like just rewrote all these synapses in my brain and
Wow.
like discarded all these pathways that my brain would keep firing on. I'm just wild. Like it makes you so neuroplastic when you're on
Mhm.
it. And if you take the time to do like, not just be like partying and like, and like, let's watch cool shit,
Yeah,
but actually like spend time on yourself, you can like remap your brain.
totally.
And if you put the effort in, like, I mean, that's what therapy is, I guess. But like, it's like 100 times more efficacious. You can get
Yes,
like a year's worth of therapy in like an hour.
totally. It's like the pressure cooker of
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah. And it's helped my photography in a lot of ways as well. Just like, tangential thinking
Mhm.
and learning how to like be emotionally invested in people and more empathic. I remember I had this for a while I was doing model testing.
Mhm.
Um, and I had done LSD like a few days before and I had an emotional moment on it. Which led to me being quite emotional the next few days.
Mhm.
And I was shooting this girl and she was really, really hard to like open up. She was so nervous. And I
Yeah.
just felt for her so much. Like her parents wanted her to be there, not her. Like it was so awkward for her. And I just wanted, like, I really wanted to connect with this girl. And I felt for her. I almost felt like I wanted to cry. And then I found some sort of like, I don't know, there was like an energy and this like bond. And I could see the path to cracking her.
Hmm.
And I led her down that path. And then she like, and I know it was one of the first times in her life that this happened. And she just like opened up and it let it go and the whole room including her parents started to cry
No
and
way.
like I was crying too and she had this like she was just suddenly was modeling beautifully because had no anxiety
Yeah.
and I led her down that path because I was there feeling what she was feeling and
Yes.
that's only because I had this experience on LSD.
That's so interesting. So when you say the path though, like what like just talk about that a little bit more. Like how do you lead her
I
down
think
this
it's just
path?
like if you find, say, some people you can just sit there and have a conversation with and you feel so
Yes.
comfortable. They're
Totally.
just so empathic and
Yes.
they want to feel what you feel and they're
Okay.
invested in what you feel.
Mhm.
And like I'm not like that normally, and I think most people aren't.
Yes.
But because of LSD, I was able to get there, and now I
Interesting.
can get there more easily without the help of anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's I think used properly. Some of these, I think it's definitely the future of like psychotherapy.
Mhm.
Um, People just need to come around a bit more. We're almost there.
It's true. Like I think isn't it now I'm not sure specifically which psychedelic it is that they're like starting to do like you can get your doctor
Oh,
to
ketamine.
ketamine, yeah,
Yeah.
to get a referral to go through it. Like I know someone personally who's done it and same thing. It was like his lifelong depression like completely cured. And he had been in therapy for like, I don't know, 3+ years.
Yeah.
And like that was what really like stopped his crippling depression and anxiety and
Wow.
which I think is it's amazing. I mean, I haven't experimented really with it myself other than like microdosing shrooms, but that is just doesn't really it's not the same, you know? So, but yeah, I think that's so interesting. So, do you have any advice, I think maybe for people who are like thinking about like looking for healing with psychedelics?
I mean, I have to be careful because like I'm not like at all qualified to be saying
Totally.
this, but like if you have schizophrenia in your family, like don't do
Yeah,
LSD and don't
totally.
do lots of mushrooms. If you're like just a super anxious person, don't go and do like all the drugs. Like
Yeah.
start really low, like microdosing, so that, if you're stuck in this for 6 hours, it's not
Mhm.
so bad. Because you can like, just like I said, it's neuroplastic. Like if you're suddenly ruminating on these things and
Mhm.
like going down dark paths, it can have an equally powerful, terrible effect.
Totally.
So you have to be careful. But I would just say like, these aren't party drugs.
For
These
sure.
aren't, you have to use them like, don't have to, but you should use them uh, in an attempt to put the work in.
Yeah, with an intention for yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, I don't know, looking to see, I think it's going to be coming soon too, where is it like mushrooms are now going to soon be legal in Canada?
Yeah, I
I
think so.
think like it's,
In Vancouver, they might already be,
yeah.
actually.
So, I think it'll be interesting to see like the studies that are going to come out of this and being able to like do it in an environment that's designed to help you heal, I think is amazing. So I'm looking forward to it. It's
Yeah.
definitely something, even though, I am sober, it definitely would be something that I would love to set an intention and try and do and go through sort of that process with. I think it would like help me reach a deeper level, which I haven't been able to reach yet.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
I love it. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on this podcast with me and sharing a bit of our story together. You're such a special person in my life, and uh,
uh,
I can't wait. I can't wait to do even more together.
I love you. I have some stuff I need to edit of you, actually. I will get to it. I
Oh my God.
promise you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Honestly, just like when we shoot, I feel like more inspired now. And I learned some things about you,
Ah, I love
Mr. Hollywood.
you.
I love you.
I love you too.